that you have that you look back on your career and you go through?
Well, as you know, most of your personal things in life, you like to keep personal. But I did have an incident, and I think I hear your questioning. In 90, where I was arrested for soliciting prostitution. And so through an escort service, hours before a game. So regardless of all the growth as far as being a basketball player and being All-American and having achieved everything on the court, a lot of us, and I'm just speaking for myself, walk around with these underlying, situations. And I make no excuses for that, because I knew exactly what I was doing. Irvin and Gladys, didn't raise their 3 sons like that.
You know what? Let me ask you this. While you're there, that had to be the biggest disappointment, not just for you, but for your parents, though. For them to hear it must have been like the biggest thing. You like, oh, what I got to tell them before somebody else hears it.
No, my mom and dad are really cool. They understand, that no one's perfect,
right?
And so very supportive. I know it had to hurt inside, but I think they were really supportive. My dad we had conversations with my dad, because I was young when my dad was growing up. So he used to, and my grandfather. And I think a lot of that is what I saw growing up, is my grandfather's, wife was extremely submissive. His mistress, who lived in the same house, was extremely submissive. My grandfather was born in the 1800s, man. So, and a lot of his stuff comes from, Indian, people and that thing. And then my mom was, was very submissive, very, she ran the house. My dad had an 8th grade education. He didn't have a lot of, conversation. So I didn't really see any type of constructive conversation. Like I said, I make no excuses, but when you get married at 22 and you have no foundation for communicating, and you're just being a basketball player and paying bills and taking care of everybody and thinking you're all that. And then when things don't work out in your marriage and it shuts down, and then you start doing stupid shit. And so, yeah, I wear that scar is not going anywhere. You know what I mean? It's like,
but James, for me, the biggest measure of a man to me isn't when it's going great. It's when shit's going bad. When you have to stand up. And I talked to Robert Parrish about this, and we were talking about he had a situation where he had marijuana come to him in Boston in the mail. They picked him up, and he had to stand. And for me, I was more proud to see how he handled that as a man. Didn't blame anybody else. That's what I did. It was my fault. And I think there's a lesson to be learned in what you're saying, because people don't realize sometimes that we are just human. And we have faults and we have issues and we have things just like everybody else. But sometimes people don't let us become who we really are because of the money, the fame, and whatever it might be.
Well, I think, it starts at an early age, and you get used to, being the last guy in the line. You're in the 10th grade, you're at, the movie theater, and, you all of a sudden the manager comes out, and all of a sudden you're getting in for free. You go to college, you get a couple free meals here, a couple special treatment. You kind of, if you don't, my parents were great. My parents were, they were grounded, but still, you move through life, and then I probably dated, one girl in high school, and maybe a couple, had some fun in college, and then met my wife in college, and we got married just based on a great Cinderella story. I mean, she was an awesome cheerleader, and I was an All-American basketball player. Why not?
Yeah.
We laugh about it now. I mean, we have 2 beautiful girls out of it. So sometimes I think, maybe that's why, you know, we were together, and whatever my kids are going to do. And so it's all good. But like I tell people, man, you can't make excuses, even though there might be surrounding scenarios that, like, I didn't really know how to communicate to my wife. I was like, you know, and I just didn't have that communication, you know,
you
later
look
on in life. So,
yeah, you look back at as a young kid now. As I look at myself when I was married at 28, I'm thinking like, what the hell was I doing? I was still in the NBA, 28 years old.
yeah.
As a man, you think now, I shouldn't have got married till I was 40. I mean, I have great kids because of it, but
Yeah.
the NBA is not conducive to marriage for a young man, especially because there's just too many distractions out there.
Well, I think it should be against the law to get married before 35 anyway, for any man. But, you know, I talk to a lot of lawyers and doctors, and, you know, they're like, man, you know, it could have been me. You know, they always, you know, so it's just that we're under the microscope, you know, and we're a small entity of men on the big scope. But we all have the same problems, man. I'm glad to see that some of the players today are coming forth with some of the issues they're having with whatever, depression, and they're ready to get the help. I wasn't big on therapy and all that kind of stuff.
Made you soft, didn't it? That sounds soft.
Yeah, that's where you grow up, man.
Soft,
you
get
know,
your
you
soft ass out of here.
You might talk to the preacher after church for about 5 minutes or at the barbershop, but that was about it. But then you grow older, you just need to vent, mostly than trying to, you know, become a new person. For me, it was just hear me out and, you know, try to understand. So, you know, life is good, man. You know, you learn and move on. You know, you can't change things. You just have to know who you are and keep it going.